Hi, I'm Kenisha, and I'm a Jamaican who has traveled to 30 plus countries on a Jamaican passport as a digital nomad for the past 5 years. And I'm just sharing my experience building community at the globalmovesnetwork.com and just sharing my information and hoping to build a community that is strong and advocates for ourselves and also strategize together. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the tools that I use personally that I think are very helpful when planning to travel. I think these are especially important for people with weak passports because that is what I travel on, or some people say a moderate passport, but it's very important to approach things in a more unique way, a more strategic way when you travel, because that gives you the best outcome. And these tools have just helped me over the years, and I just wanted to talk about them. The first tool I use, and I use this a lot, it's probably my most used tool, is actually Skyscanner. And that just helps me find the best flights. I'm usually pretty flexible, and I suggest to be very flexible when you're traveling with a so-called weak passport because it's super super helpful to see where to go, what's the best place to go, or what's the best time to go within a certain range. And Skyscanner is really 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 good for that. Also in finding the best visa-free options for you. And I use it just for inspiration a lot of times, just to have an idea of what flight costs when I'm planning, before I even think about, visa, is that necessary? This is a jump off point. This is super, super important. And that leads me into my second one that I use a lot, and that's Passport Index. That one, clutch. Super, 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 super important for people like me and you if you're off, have a weak passport and you're watching this. The list just shows you, like, once you put your passport in, like what countries require what visas, or if they require visas, require e-visas, visa on arrival, visa free. Super, super important. Using that as in Passport Index in tandem with Skyscanner or Google Flights, super 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 important. And it just gives you, like, it just helps you to know where to go, what's the best option. I advocate for going to, as if you're traveling for the first time, before going for a so-called big visa for the US, for Canada, for the UK, um, I would recommend going to a visa-free location first. This is super important to build trust in the systems when you're going after. And and these tools and these tips are really just to help you to avoid rejections in the first place. What people don't talk about enough is that rejections compound. You don't want rejections. You want to go first and be the right decision, because not only do rejections cost money, they cost something super important, and that's reputation. And you need that. Very, very important when you're traveling on a so called weak passport is your reputation as a traveler. My next tool, and I use this a lot, this goes back into budgeting as well. And I think this is not just for weak passports, but it is super super helpful, knowing how much you're spending and how much things cost in relation to what currency you have. And that's a currency conversion app. I use the XE1, the app. I keep it on my phone. I use it constantly because I travel in with Jamaican dollars. I made US in the past, but it converts to Jamaican, so I have to be very careful in how I spend. And also, I use it in determining where to go, believe it or not. I compare my currency against other currencies, and I see where can I get the best deal for myself. And that's super important to note in where you're going to go. Does this make sense for my pocket? It's and the currency app is a great way to know that. This might be an underrated one, I'm not sure, but super 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 important is Wiki Travel. The way that Wiki Travel is organized is super 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 important. I keep saying important because it's these things I feel are very important. Wiki Travel breaks things down by what to see, what to do, budget places to stay, understanding the culture of that city, um, how to stay safe, what happens, how to get in, how to get out, what's the best next option. Super important in budget, especially if and travel planning, especially if you're going alone, and or going into a region that you don't know much about. That's super important. Um, with Wiki Travel, you can just start to take notes. What's important to you? What's not important to you? Disregard some things because they don't apply to you on what you were looking for in that country or that region or that area, in terms of what will be like fun for you. But it's a really great place to start to just get an idea of what you know. You can always go back there, even when you're in the location now. Go back to Wiki Travel and see what's going on. What can I see? What can I do? What can I buy? You know, super helpful. Another one that's super important. Oh my goodness, so glad I discovered this one. Is Numbeo. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'll of course put the name there, but it helps to determine your the cost of living of the place where you're going. And I love to compare it to the city that I'm from or the city that I stay the most in. It's so helpful to determine, does this place make sense? Because a lot of times, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's best to choose somewhere else. I compare things because Numbeo compares things like the cost of an apartment to rent outside the city, inside the city, and obviously the cost is not as super relevant to you as a traveler or a tourist because those are for like local prices. But it's a great point to start. If you're seeing prices for places when booking way outside of that, you know that you need to scale back, look somewhere else, things like that. But it is a great point, and I use it because I am a budget traveler. I'm not like super shoestring or anything like that, but it's very important for me to see as much of the world as I can, or as much of the world as I'm interested in seeing. And to do that, I don't currently have unlimited money, so it's important to be smart in where I decide to go. And that involves comparing monies, comparing the cost of living, what can I get there? And I like to have good experiences and high quality experiences where I'm going. So for high quality experiences, it's important to know how much that will cost you and if it is worth it based on where you're going and where you're coming from. Another one, this might seem self-explanatory, but I'll say how I use it, and maybe that's a bit different from what you would use it for. But Google Maps, and that's to find really affordable like homestays. For me personally, I choose places that are I like apartments because I like to cook sometimes. I travel a lot, so being able to cook is very important. Being able to have like a refrigerator, being able to have like a kettle, things like that. So what I do is after searching like areas, like Wiki Travel is very important for that, like I mentioned earlier in the video. You can then go to Google Maps, type in that region, zoom in. Google Maps has a search option where you can go look for homestays, look for serviced apartments, look for hostels, things like that to help you find something that makes the most sense. Basically, get the best bang for your buck. And you will realize throughout this video that that is super important to me. It's not just about going to all these places. It's about having the experience of having the best experience for the best cost and without being ripped off. You know, I agree to some degree that, you know, there is a bump in costs for tourists, but I don't think you should be extorted. And I think that's super important to note. And that's another thing that helps to compare and contrast what areas you can get this for, how you can move around, planning your, especially like I said, if you're alone or traveling with somebody who is also not well traveled, getting around, mapping your areas. Also, in wanting to get from where you're staying, you know, sometimes from the airport to where you're staying, you can save that route. What I do, I screenshot it because I know when I just land, I may not get a SIM card at the airport, but I need to know how to get out of the airport and where I'm going. And it has been super helpful. Sometimes it's not the best option to get a SIM card at the airport. It's usually more expensive there. I found that in Thailand. So things like that, super helpful to just, you know, maneuver in the most affordable way. Another one is, and this is two in one basically for booking, and it's booking.com and Hostel World. The thing with booking.com, you can book and choose to pay when you get to the property. This is super helpful for getting visas when you don't want to pay upfront because you don't know if you're going to get the visa. Super important when maybe you're not sure if you're ready to give all this money to this place because it's easy to get, not easy, but every now and then there's experiences where it's something that you booked online, it doesn't look how it is in person. And this is a great way to basically safeguard your monies when you're traveling and you're not sure. And also, it helps sometimes. I've done this before. I don't know if this is right or against the rule or whatever, but I booked multiple places just because I'm not confident in certain places and I want to be okay. I want to know if I get there and I don't like it, I can leave and have a backup ready. So that's something to note as well. Oh, and Hostel World. This is another one that's good for visas as well because you only pay like a small like booking fee basically, which is Hostel World's amount, and it books it for you, and it's confirmed, and you basically get to maneuver right away. You have to pay for everything right away. These are very good tools and options for people with weak passports because it helps you to make the most of your planning and your budgeting without wasting your money, especially upfront. Another super important tool is a VPN. I've been using a VPN for years. I pay for it because I think those are the best ones. I pay about $13 a month for ExpressVPN, and it's my trusted source. It has really helped me. It's really good for privacy. It's really good for. I've come to find out because I remember when I was just Googling, because I do a lot of travel research. I've never been to Morocco, but I know that I can visit Morocco because I have a US Canadian visas. And I tried going on the Moroccan like embassy website, consulate website from Jamaica, and it wouldn't allow me. It's like blocked. And I decided to use my VPN, and boom. So things like that, you know, some countries deliberately block certain countries from viewing things, and this is a way to get around that. This is a way to view information that you may not have access to. And I think it's so messed up that these people try to block, or these institutions, establishments try to block information. And that's why I will forever be a proponent for sharing information within spaces like this, like Global Moves, where people with weaker passports are able to travel and get information that they need from other people. I posted about this recently where I was able to go to London twice without a visa because friend in Vienna, she's on TikTok. I don't know if she's on any other places. She posted about it, and I was like, "What? I didn't know about this." And she posted proof. I did my own research, saw that it was possible, and I did it. And I did have a bit of difficulty because a lot of people don't know about it at the airport. But I was able to get through. I was able to spend like 24 hours in London, able to go to the museum, able to have some food. It was lovely. And I am so glad I was able to do that. I did not know about that until she posted that. So that's super important to um, share information among these spaces. This is kind of a bonus one, I guess. And I'm sure people use this, but this is how I use this tool. And that's TikTok. So I mentioned earlier in the video that I'm very big on traveling budget friendly. For me personally, and I've been doing this a lot within the last maybe year and a half, is when I land, before I land somewhere, I Google, TikTok, how to get from the airport that I'm going to the city center, which is usually where I'm staying, the city center. Or if not the city center, I just need to get to the city center and then determine otherwise. And it has been so helpful to download these videos on TikTok ahead of time and have that information for when I need it. It has been like, oh my goodness, that information gold, because a lot of times people try to, like, they have to use a taxi, or sometimes there's shuttles, sometimes there's free options, sometimes there's a bus, sometimes there's a train, and it's a very, very affordable option. In comparison, you're saving probably like a third of what you would have spent if you went for a taxi. So I think that's super important. Just finding places to stay, yes, but the biggest one I use it for, the most helpful, is getting from the airport to the city center or to where I'm staying. So I hope you found this helpful. Subscribe. I'm going to be talking more about this type of stuff. Get involved. Go to the website. Sign up. Join the community, because this is a space that is very important. We need to talk to each other. We need to. The global south is the majority of the population, and I will continue to preach that. So I think obviously we won't get all of us together, because that's just hard to imagine. But enough of us can come together and share information to maneuver the systems that are used to hold us back. And I'll continue to preach that, continue to talk about that, continue to talk about my experiences, because I think it matters. And I hope you stay tuned.